Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining. My name is Sudeep Goswami. I'm the CEO of Traefik Labs. And I just want to do a quick intro before I pass it over to our speakers for today. Uh, you're going to get a lot of technical details, and this presentation will get technical very quickly. But what I want to maybe share with you is the approach that we at Traefik Labs are taking to help all of you guys and others to think through the migration and help you plan the migration and execute the migration. And I think there's three things that I want you guys to take away, at least from a business standpoint, on what we are trying to do here. Number one, the focus for us is very day two ops heavy, right? What we're not trying to do is just say move over to Traefik, delete everything that you have with your existing Ingress NGINX and just install Traefik, right? That would be idealistic, but that is not what works in practice. So we're approaching this from a very day two ops perspective to give you a more pragmatic pathway to migrate from where you are today to the future. That's number one. Number two is the open source DNA that Traefik was born with. And I think the proof is in the pudding. We have been around for 10 years and we have delivered our commitment over and over again to the open source community. And we plan to continue that commitment. And you guys have seen that. I think thanks to all of you, the number of downloads, which is about 3.4 billion now, the number of stars are all a testament to your appreciation for the work that we do. And I think this is only going to get more, I would say, important and strategic as we help you guys migrate. So open source is core to our DNA. And what you're also going to get from Traefik are a set of full-time maintainers that will be dedicated to making sure that this migration happens seamlessly with the best possible options for you. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is, yes, we are talking about a migration from Ingress NGINX to Traefik, but that is not the end state. What we're also going to provide you is a future-proofed pathway. Whether that future-proofed pathway is towards the standardized interface with Gateway API, or whether your Ingress journey evolves to incorporate other capabilities like an AI gateway or an MCP gateway, or you may need a web application firewall, or you may need API lifecycle management. That's kind of how we look at this is a migration of your Ingress strategy to something that is going to be more futuristic and give you a longer mileage. Not just for Ingress, but a lot more. So with that said, I don't want to take more time. I want to pass it over to our two speakers for today, Emil and Nico. So with that, I'll pass it over to Emil.
All right. Thank you, Sudeep. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Emil Vosges. I'm the creator of Traefik and the founder and CTO of Traefik Labs.
And I'm Nicolas Mangin, a Traefik maintainer, and I'm working at Traefik Lab as a head of development.
Yep, and between the two of us, we spend most of our time working on Kubernetes networking, Ingress controllers, Gateway API, and also running on lovely trails as well. I think this picture was taken near Denver, Colorado, if I'm not wrong. All right. Before we deep dive into the problem, let me briefly explain what Traefik is. It's a modern cloud-native, lightweight gateway, all designed to expose your containers, your services, your microservices, and it handles advanced traffic management like mirroring, canaries, but also routing, of course. It has a lot of security capabilities, for example, Let's Encrypt integration, and full observability with, for example, open telemetry support. And one very important design choice that was made in Traefik since day one is the native integration with the infrastructure. So for example, in Kubernetes, Traefik discovers your services and your routes directly connecting to the Kubernetes API. So clearly there is a strong integration with containerized platforms, but also with VMs, bare metal, etc. Another important topic, and we will discuss that later, there is no raw configuration templating, no scripted reload logic, which is a common attack surface. So this architecture is one of the reasons Traefik is widely adopted today with, as Sudip said, billions of downloads, hundreds of contributors, almost 1,000, 60K stars since last week, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, and battle tested by many companies like NASA, eBay, etc. So yeah, widely adopted open source project. And I also want to clarify how Traefik fits into the broader platform picture. So Traefik Proxy is the open source foundation we've built. So as I said, it handles everything a proxy, a gateway is handling, traffic, security, observability at the edge. And on top of Traefik, we built Traefik Hub, our commercial product, and Hub had higher level capabilities, including API gateway features and AI and MCP gateway capabilities. And at the end of the day, a full API management solution, for example, with developer portal, API governance, etc., etc. So the important aspect is that everything is built on the same core, which is open source, and that you can start your journey with Traefik Proxy and grow into a hub as your needs evolve. Okay, so let's start. Let's talk about the hard reality of maintaining a critical open source project. Ingress NGINX as an Ingress controller is one of the most critical components in a Kubernetes cluster, and yeah, it sits directly at the edge of the cluster. It handles all the incoming traffic, so it's really a key part of the infrastructure. And at the same time, it has been maintained under very strong constraints. So let's try to understand the reality of the situation of this kind of open source project. And the true reality is that for many years, Ingress NGINX relied on a very small number of core maintainers, and in some periods, only one or two people were responsible of reviewing issues, handling PRs, handling CVEs. We'll talk about that in a minute. And at the same time, there were an overwhelming demand. Adoption exploded. So yeah, crazy number of annotation were created, and the security surface grew far beyond what a volunteer team could sustain. So clearly there is an issue with the lack of resource with this kind of project. And it was also built on a kind of a fragile foundation, let's say. And over time, it accumulated years of complexity, annotation-driven behavior, and powerful but unsafe snippet extension mechanism. So those choices led to an architecture that was insecure and very hard to maintain. Vulnerabilities kept appearing and until it culminated with the Ingress nightmare. So earlier this year, in March 2025, this CVE was discovered and published by the Wiz research team, and they revealed a critical unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability in Ingress NGINX, and attackers could inject malicious NGINX configuration through annotations. This combined with shared library uploads could lead to full cluster compromise. So that's like super serious. One of the most critical CVE in the Kubernetes ecosystem so far, rated at 9.8. And more than 40% of cloud environment were vulnerable. So very serious CVE. It's not just another CVE. Clearly, it exposed the weakness of the architecture and the impossibility to maintain Ingress NGINX on the long term. And yeah, there is also the Ingate project. This was an attempt to bootstrap a new project. I mean, from the maintainer team of Ingress NGINX to be the successor of Ingress NGINX, let's say, called Ingate. But the idea was to rebuild something from scratch, implementing Gateway API. So not Ingress, but Gateway API. But yeah, unfortunately, it failed to attract enough contributors to be viable, and they were forced to announce the end of the project at the same time. So yeah. So when you combine, lack of people, lack of resources, lack of maintainers, unmanageable security risk, and the failure of the replacement project, the retirement of Ingress NGINX became inevitable, and it's now scheduled in less than 100 days. So yeah, pretty bad news for the whole community, to be honest. So yeah, the real questions becomes very simple. What should we do? What do we migrate to, right? Let's quickly look at the obvious alternatives. So first of all, is the obvious one is F5 Ingress NGINX, which is based on NGINX. You could think, hey, okay, it will be super easy to migrate, but it's a false friend, because F5 Ingress NGINX is built by F5, but it's using custom CRD, not Ingress resources. So they are using virtual server CRD, their own CRD. So basically, you have to rewrite your entire configuration using their migration guide. So yeah, it's clearly not the easiest way. Let's see with HA proxy. So it's they announced that they were providing a migration assistant, which is online. So it looked great on paper, but when you dig deeper, so first of all, you have to copy paste every annotation and see if there is an equivalent in HA proxy. And when you dig even deeper, you see that they only support 10 annotation with their direct equivalent in HA proxy. So it's not that much compared to the amount of annotation supported by Ingress NGINX. And let's see with what's going on with Kong and Cilium. So that's great. They are investing in the future with Gateway API, but the issue is that they only focus on Gateway API. They don't support anything else. So I mean, they do not support any NGINX migration path. So as we will see later, migrating to Gateway API is probably not an option in the short term, at least. It's clearly not a drop-in replacement, as we will see later with Nico. So let's just be honest for a minute. Migrating tens or hundreds of ingresses with each with many annotation in less than 100 days is already extremely challenging, but doing this also with switching to a new and work in progress specification like Gateway API is just unrealistic. So we need a solution that works with existing clusters without having to rewrite everything. So that's that's usually when you start wondering how we can deal with this situation, right? Because that's not an easy one. So that's exactly what the question we asked ourselves months ago when we saw that coming. Maybe Traefik could be the one. Maybe Traefik could be a good replacement. Let's dig deeper. From a design perspective, first of all, at least security-wise, the answer is yes. Traefik is secure by design. It has no raw configuration templating. It's deliberately a reduced attack surface, and that's a huge plus compared to Ingress NGINX. On the adoption, it's widely adopted, as we've seen before. It has been battle tested by so many companies in the industry for 10 years. So I guess there is nothing to be worried about here. And let's move to Gateway API. Traefik has been a strong and early support to Gateway API. It was part of the very early working group that was working on Service API back in 2019 and is following closely the Gateway API implementation, and has full implementation of the latest v1.4 Gateway API release. So yeah, basically there is nothing to worry about, but the only critical question left is, what about NGINX compatibility? And yeah, sadly, this is where it becomes a bit more complex because this slide shows the core of the problem. There are more than 100 different annotation, Ingress NGINX annotation, and some of them are simple, some are subtle, some are deeply tied to NGINX internals, and creating a compatibility layer for this is clearly not an easy task. It requires to understand not only the names, but also the exact behavior that is implemented by NGINX itself. So yeah, welcome to the annotation hell. So maybe let's think about a pragmatic approach. So instead of trying to do everything at once, we took a pragmatic approach and looked at real world usage and then identified the most commonly used annotations. And based on that, we've built a native Ingress NGINX provider directly integrated to Traefik. So it means that this provider translates NGINX annotations, Ingress NGINX annotations, to Traefik internal object. And this was merged in Traefik 3.5 back in July 2025. So several months ago. So yeah, I guess that's really what Traefik loves Ingress NGINX actually means. It means you can keep your Ingress resources, you can keep your annotations, and Traefik will interpret them using this provider and translates that directly to Traefik internal object. So there is no need to do a mass rewrite, no need to learn something new, and it's not. Yeah, so it's a different approach. It's not about perfection because it's very hard to support every annotation. Of course, it's almost impossible. It will be impossible, but at least it's about making most users a feasible and safe migration under real-world constraints. So I guess with all that said, let's be realistic for a sec. The priority right now is not to modernize everything. You have less than 3 months, so the priority is to get off Ingress NGINX before the security updates stop. That's really the number one priority. And of course, if you have to do this in less than 100 days, you have to do this with the least amount of change possible. And once it's done, once you have secured that, once you are out of Ingress NGINX, and once the pressure is gone as well, then you can take the time in the second step to modernize properly with Gateway API. So yeah, migrate safely first and modernize in a second step on your terms. On your terms. So let's now dig deeper into the 3 steps you need to follow to get to this successful transition. And let's first start with the audit aspect with Nico.
Yes, level 1, assess your migration complexity. I mean, before starting the migration, you have to estimate the work you will have to do. To do so, the first thing is to identify all the Ingress NGINX features you are on your cluster, which means all the annotations that are used in your ingresses deployed on your cluster. Once you will have this list, you have to know what are the annotations supported by Traefik, because having all this information will allow you to know what are the ingress that will require an effort of migration. To help you, we have created a migration tool. So this tool will check all the ingress you have in your cluster and inform you if the annotations used are supported by Traefik or not. So let's see how it works together. First of all, you have to go on our website, ingressnginxmigration.org, and every step is documented there. First things to do, check if you are using Nginx on your cluster. So this is the case on my demo cluster. I have Nginx deployed. And I've deployed an Ingress resource with Ingress NGINX annotations. As you can see, I have a few ones to do a necessary redirection and secure the access using basic code. Now, going on GitHub, on our tool, on the repository tool on GitHub, I will be able to download this migration tool and I will launch it. So under the hood, what happens? The binary will connect to your Kubernetes cluster and will detect all the ingresses, the annotation, and compute a report. So for the ingress I just showed you, all the annotations are supported by Traefik. So it means that you can use Traefik instead of Ingress. You have no migration to do, nothing to rework on your Ingress resource. But let's add another annotation, the custom header annotation, which is not supported yet. Side note, it will be supported very soon. It's work in progress. And let's compute another report. And now we can see that we have one unsupported annotation. It's only one, so it's easy to see, but if you have a dozen of annotation, you will see them here. You can share a report with us, so you can see here the data you will share with us. The goal, as Emil said, is for us to know what are the most used annotations to bring them support. And you will be able to see a view instead, either by per ingress or per annotation. And now let's move to level 2 with Emil.
All right. So yeah, so this migration tool allows you to have a quick overview on your clusters of the complexity of the migration that is ahead of you. Now let's see how you can do this migration thanks to Traefik with like 0 effort. Okay, so how? Again, I already explained a bit this earlier, but since Traefik 3.5, we've included a native Ingress NGINX provider within Traefik, and it automatically parses all your annotation in your, of your Ingress resources and translates them into Traefik object. so middlewares, routers, servers, etc. And importantly, without touching your YAML resources, your existing YAML resources. So the result is that it's just a drop-in replacement that that respect your existing resources and your existing Ingress configuration. So what is supported? So the goal is that we try to address the most common real-world use cases. So we've identified the most used annotation within those categories. So authentication, we have 7 supported annotation. TLS, we have 7. Session affinity, we have 6. Load balancing, we have 3. And calls management, we have 6. So of course, there are still some gaps, of course, but it's a data-driven effort. As Nico mentioned, thanks to the Ingress NGINX migration tool, you are able to send us your anonymous report, and we will be able to get over time statistically representative usage of the annotation and focus our effort on the most used annotation out there. So that's the great part. And another aspect which is great is that we already have many contributions and that are adding more support to additional annotations out there. So that's great. So let's get a demo of this NGINX provider. So as you can see here, we have an Ingress deployed to a basic web server with TLS, SSL redirect, and basic authentication with annotations. And of course, it's using NGINX. Okay, so let's see that Ingress NGINX is up and running, and as well as the web server and the Ingress resource. Let's curl the host, and of course we need to curl it with basic auth and TLS, and it works. All right. So now let's deploy Traefik with the NGINX native provider here. So we check on the, we check that it's properly installed and deployed. So as you can see, we have Traefik and the server. And if we go on the Traefik dashboard, we check that the internal objects are translated from the Ingress resources. So it means that Traefik has interpreted the NGINX resources properly, and we can check with a curl that we can successfully access the web server with basic auth and TLS. So it means that we just reused an existing Ingress NGINX resources with specific NGINX annotation within Traefik with 0 config rewrite. So like a pure drop-in replacement solution. So that's pretty, personally, I think it's pretty amazing. Let's now discuss how we can deploy Traefik and replace NGINX with a 0 downtime strategy, because that's the most important, and how you can do it progressively. So the idea is that you deploy Traefik side by side with Ingress NGINX, and both controllers will watch the same Ingress class at the same time. So they will access to the same Ingress resources. And in front of that, you can have either DNS, either a load balancer. I mean, there are several possibilities here, but you can gradually and progressively shift the traffic to NGINX to Traefik. I mean, ingress per ingress if you want. And it means that you can test at every step, and if you want, you can roll back at any time. And so it means that the process is safe, controlled, and reversible. And of course, once you have migrated all your Ingress resources and you've checked that everything is fine, you can decommission and just uninstall NGINX once for all. So pretty simple on paper strategy here, but at least you can reach zero downtime pretty. I mean, with that, following this process. All right, so now let's talk about the final boss, which is Gateway API with Nico.
So yeah, indeed, with the migration Emil just showed you, you will be able to move fast from Ingress NGINX to Traefik, still reusing your Ingress resources, but the future is not Ingress, it's a Gateway API. So let's go back a few years in the past to understand why Gateway API has been created and why it will replace Ingress. So as you know, Ingress has been created in 2015. It was at the beginning of the cloud native ecosystem. Traefik was just born. And the promise of Ingress was to be simple and vendor neutral. To expose your HTTP resources from a Kubernetes cluster. But where the simplicity should be the strength of Ingress, it became its biggest weakness because, as you know, because you are here, Ingress works well with simple use cases to expose a resource, but as soon as you have a SSL redirect, a basic code, rate limiting to do, you will have to go beyond the specification and use vendor annotation, and you become vendor locked. That's why 4 years later, in 2019, it has been decided to work on another specification that became Gateway API. Gateway API has been released GA for 2 years now, almost. It's still vendor neutral. It's based on configuration resource instead of annotation. And it's not only for HTTP, but for TCP resource as well, and for east-west and north-south traffic. To make it short, Gateway API is based on the principle that it's not only one role to manage Kubernetes clusters, but many, the ops and the dev. The ops are responsible for the gateway class, which is like an ingress class to refer to the gateway controller to expose your resources, and they define the gateway. The gateway is the entry point on the cluster. It's where you will define or your listener to allow your client to access to your cluster. On top of that, the developer will have to expose their applications, their resources. To do so, they will be able to use routes, HTTP route, gRPC, TLS routes. On these routes, Gateway API allows you to add filters to make operation on your request. So Gateway API is not only here to replace Ingress, it goes beyond Ingress. If you take a look to the concept, I've just talked about filters to allow you to modify your request and your response. It exists core filters that are filters that every gateway controller must implement. There are extended filters that are other filters specified in Gateway API, but that are optional for gateway controller. But Gateway API is extensible, and it allows every gateway controller, every vendor, to provide their own filters, named the extension ref filters, that will allow you to extend Gateway API according to your need without using annotations. Still in the concept, with Gateway API, you can do cross namespace reference. That was not possible with Ingress. Now, by design, a gateway will be able to expose root from different namespace. The gateway will be able to use TLS certificate from other namespace, and the roots will be able to expose backend that are not in the same namespace. If you take a look to the features, we already, in production ready feature, we already have everything around the path rewrite and redirect, the custom header. Gateway API supports gRPC route, soon TLS route in v1.5. It will be standard channel. Standard channel is everything that is already production ready. And with Gateway API, you can do an end-to-end TLS connection from your client to your backend in HTTP. And it was not possible with Ingress. The roadmap is still active. Here you can see the features that are planned for the next version, v1.5, planned early next year in February. And here is a global view of the features that already are in standard or experimental channel, and all the other features that we will bring in a Gateway API. So yeah, when we see what is Gateway API, the question is, okay, we can move to it. Why not doing it right now? First, because there are still features that are experimental. If we take a look, we will see that MTLS is still experimental, and important features like stickiness or curls are not production ready for the moment. The same for the retries, and the observability is not yet granular. And we talked only about Ingress, the comparison with Ingress. But if you take a look to the Ingress NGINX annotation, the 136 Ingress NGINX annotations, only 23% of them are already in the standard channel, so are production ready. And more than 63% of them are not planned or could happen soon in experimental. On top of that, the migration is not easy. I mean, with Ingress, you only have Ingress resource. But as we have seen, with Gateway API, you have many resources. So let's see together what means the migration from an Ingress to Gateway API with a basic example to understand why it's not so easy. We will have this ingress. So it's a very basic ingress with a TLS, path matching for the redirection, and only one annotation, one NGINX Ingress NGINX annotation to do SSL redirect. Now let's move it step by step to Gateway API. First, TLS. So to allow a TLS connection with Gateway API, you have to declare a gateway object. In this object, you will define a listener. The listener is the entry point, really one entry point on your cluster. And you will attach this entry point to the certificate, though this certificate will be served on the entry point. Okay. Now let's migrate the path matching. To do so, you create a first HTTP route. This route is attached to the gateway and to the listener on the gateway, and you define the matching rule. Okay, easy. Now let's do the SSL redirect, which is only one annotation with Ingress NGINX. It's a bit more complex with Gateway API, but still doable. You will have to define another listener for HTTP connection and another route attached to this HTTP listener to attach a request redirect filter. So it's a core filter implemented by every gateway controller. And this filter will allow you to redirect all the requests to the HTTPS route. So you say, okay, it's not so easy, but it may exist a tool to help us to migrate from Ingress to Gateway API, because if everybody agrees that it's the future, we can use a tool. And it's true that the community are starting working on a tool to convert your Ingress resources into Gateway. This tool is named Ingress to Gateway. However, the traction is not so big. In this screenshot, you can see all the commits that were done since the announcement and the end of life of Ingress NGINX, sorry. And if we dig a bit in the documentation, we can see that today, the only annotation supported by the tool to be migrated from Ingress to Gateway API are the canary annotation. There are 6 annotations. So I agree, we need a tool, but maybe another one. Now, let's see how Traefik will help you to migrate smoothly from your Ingress resources to Gateway API. First, Traefik will help you with its middleware because, as I mentioned previously, Gateway API allows us to bring our own filters, our own extension ref filters. And using that, you will be able to use every Traefik middleware as a filter on your HTTP route. For example, here I'm using the same ingress as the previous example, but I've just added annotations to do the basic authentication. If you want to use only the core or extended filter provided by Gateway API, you won't be able to do it. But with Traefik, you will define a basic code middleware and you will add it as an extension ref filter. And the migration is done. If you don't find the right middleware to do to fit your expectations, just for information, Traefik comes with a plugin system, and you will be able to find a plugin, a community plugin that will fit your need. Or if you have a more enterprise use case, you can take a look to Traefik Hub that brings some authentication and authorization middleware, for example. So once the migration is ready, once you will be ready to move from your Ingress to Gateway API, Traefik will help you to have a step-by-step migration. First, you will be able to install Traefik with both providers, which means that at the same time, a single Traefik instance will be able to route the traffic to your backend using either an Ingress or a Gateway API resources. Which means that once your Ingress has been translated into a Gateway API resources, you will be able to migrate with zero downtime. Let's see it in action. So here, I deploy Traefik on my cluster using the Helm chart. I enabled both providers. If I go to the dashboard, I can see that both providers are enabled. But for the moment, I have no route. Let's deploy on this same cluster the ingress we have just seen in the previous example. So with this ingress, Traefik will create two routes, one HTTP, one HTTPS to do the SSL redirect, and secure the access with a basic code. On the right, I launch a loop where every second I reach my backend. Okay? So now let's deploy the Gateway API resource to replace this ingress. So as we have seen, I declare first a gateway with its listener and the TLS certificate, and the HTTP route for the TLS redirection, and after that, the route that will reach my backend secured using basic authentication. I deploy these gateway resources, and now in Traefik, we can see that they are both route for provided by the Ingress NGINX Provider and Gateway API Provider. And if we delete the Ingress NGINX Ingress, we can see that we still reach the backend, which means that we have been able to migrate from Ingress, from the Ingress with the Ingress NGINX annotation to Gateway API with the runtime time on the backend. And the effort is not done. We have planned to still moving forward on our Gateway API support in 2026 to bring more feature from both the standard and experimental channels. And we have planned to start working on our own migration tool to help you migrating from Ingress with Ingress NGINX annotations to Gateway API. Emil, I will let you conclude.
All right. Thank you, Nico. So yeah, let's wrap things up. Ingress NGINX retirement is a real deal and needs to be and this is something that needs to be taken very seriously. But I guess you get the point. One important aspect is that rushing a full rewrite under a deadline pressure is super risky and probably not something you want to do. It's probably not the right answer. Another aspect which is important is that apart from Traefik, like literally no one is working on a zero effort migration path. And yeah, Traefik allows you to migrate right now without changing your existing configuration and while still being able to quickly move to a Gateway API once you are ready. But on your own timeline, you won't be under the pressure of the Ingress NGINX retirement deadline. Another important aspect is that the existing migration path is not static. Our Ingress NGINX migration tool will continue to improve with the addition of the Gateway API translation over time. At the same time, we also will be working on improving the existing Traefik NGINX provider, and of course, we will bring more and more annotations in the coming weeks. And to be honest, in fact, we already have several annotations that were added by the community on GitHub. So yeah, we can see that there is a clear need and a clear community effort on that. So yeah, this is where we want your help. If you rely on specific annotation, if you have edge cases, or if you want to contribute, we actively welcome your feedback, your contributions. So yeah, please help us make this tool even better. And this migration effort is built with the community and for the community. So yeah. Of course, if you need any help, if you can reach out to us. We can work hand in hand with you to plan your migration. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. We are happy to take your question. All right.
Thank you, Emil. Thank you, Nico. Thank you all for joining and asking the questions. I see there are some common questions that have been asked. So just want to reiterate for everybody listening in, the slides and the recording will be made available. I believe we'll put it on the GitHub repo that we have created for this. So you guys will have access to all of that. But if there are any unanswered technical questions, I think Emil and Nico, you guys can look at the Q&A and look at any open questions, and you can kind
So
of take those.
there is a question from Dan Bryant. Is there an ETA on the automatic annotation migration tool? So not sure which ETA you are talking about, Dan, but so the migration tool is already available, and we are working on adding Gateway API support to this tool. So there is no ETA yet, but this is something we have in the roadmap and are working on right now. So I cannot give you any ETA on that.
And I think there was a related question on that on another chat where I think the question was, when will the migration tool be made available? The answer is it's already available now. So you can go to, we can put the link again. You can go to the Ingress migration .org website, and the link is there. But we'll put it here again for everybody.
And we will share all the links afterwards, of course. There are many questions. What language are modules written in? So modules, I'm not sure I get this point. If you want to say plugins, right now it's written in Go. Traefik is written in Go, and plugins are using the same language. Um, can we use Gateway API and Ingress NGINX simultaneously? Yes, I guess. The the answer is simple.
And we have documented that. So that
Yeah,
is also, we have shared that link as well.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
is available.
Uh, Someone is asking if he's currently using mod security as a WAF. Uh, do we recommend to use Corasa Traefik plugin as a replacement plugin? Uh, and yes, we do. Why? Because Corasa is fully open source. It's a very interesting and active project. Written in Go as well, and part of the OWASP Foundation. So it's safe to say that Corasa is a very serious alternative to mod security, which also has, its own open source issues, had its own open source issues in the past as well.
And there's two versions of that, just to be clear. You can use the open source with Traffic Proxy. We provide that, like you said, through the WASM interface. But if you're looking to get higher performance, we have also natively integrated that into our paid API gateway product. So you can decide which one best suits your use case and go with that.
Does Kubernetes Gateway API allow configuration through config maps? I don't think so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so.
From everything is it's configured using custom resources.
Yeah. So only resources, structured resources, which is good. Uh, so is migrating over to Gateway API zero downtime as well? Same thing. That's exactly the same. You use the same process, and it will be zero downtime. We talk about the DNS possibility, but there is also the possibility to directly use Traefik as a load balancer in front of everything. So it can be the same Traefik instances used as a load balancer and used as a gateway API controller, for example. So it's even simpler. So yes, the answer is migrating to Gateway API could be the zero downtime if you use, for example, Traefik in front of that.
There's one other topic I want to reiterate. You guys might have just seen that. And if you go back to the previous slide, Emil, just want to highlight we are obviously, as Emil mentioned, we are probably the only vendor that are working to give you such a day two ops friendly path to migration. But then we're also the only company that is providing enterprise grade support to go along with it. So this is something, this is a partnership, doesn't work for every use case. But if you guys are looking to partner with us for the long term, we are the only ones that provide support on our open source in this space. So, this is the QR code for that. You can read more information, what that provides, if that would be of interest. See, there's a couple more questions here, Emil,
Yeah,
if you want.
Auth2 authentication. So I think there are several possibilities here. You can use the forward out, I think, probably, as well as it's part of our paid product Traefik Hub, uh, which provides advanced authentication mechanism. Yeah. So basically, everything related to authentication in the open source is using external mechanism, external proxy, and if you want to have um, integrated authentication, it's part of Traefik Hub. That's how we make the difference as well. What priority will be given to the annotation reported by users? That's a very good question. So we will use many data source to prioritize the annotations, and the best for us will be the annotation reported collected through the annotation migration tool that we mentioned. So this one is probably the best because we have statistics that are relevant, and of course you can ask for annotation support on GitHub, but it's less relevant because we prefer to have statistics over a large number of users. So yeah, just in a nutshell, we want to be data driven, not just someone saying it loud. I guess we mostly answered everything. Is the zero downtime migration possible even with unsupported annotation? So I'm not sure to get this question, but so right now, if you have unsupported annotation, right now there is no migration path. But if it's unsupported with Traefik, it's unsupported with nobody, right? Of course. So the point is, we're gonna bring more support to more annotation in the coming weeks. So send the report of your platform, and we will probably support your annotation pretty soon, and you will be able to migrate with zero downtime very soon. There is a question about Lua scripts. How would you recommend folks who use Lua scripts plugins on Ingress NGINX as a replacement? I mean, switching to Traefik. So we are not planning to support Lua directly, and let's dig deeper on that because that's an important question. There are two annotations that are snippet configuration. I mean, snippet related. So we might bring partial support to snippet related annotation, but we won't support Lua interpretation. Okay, I mean, this was one of the security hole in Nginx that was impossible to handle. So we clearly want to follow the same path. So we might support very basic snippet script, but it will be only super basic. I guess that's the best answer we can give for now. When the configuration obtained from Ingress object and Gateway API object conflict or contradict, how Traefik deals with that? That's a good question. We have a priority mechanism, an internal priority mechanism. that will, let's say, deal with the different priority of the different rules. However, I guess I guess this situation should be avoided. I mean, you will be able to deal with that within Traefik with priorities, but I guess it's not ideal to have conflicting rules as well. So yeah, you still have a way to deal with that, but that's something we would recommend, of course, because that's confusing. Any other questions?
I think there's only one remaining, but I'm not sure the
Yeah,
context of this is missing.
no, I mean, it was linked to a previous
Yeah.
question, which we already answered. So I guess we are good with this one.
All right, great. Think we have answered all the questions live. But again, as questions come up, please reach out to us. You know where to find us. And I want to just reiterate what Emil said. It is a community effort, and this requires partnership. Feel free to contribute to the open source project, to the annotation support. I mean, together we're going to make this work faster, better, and we're always looking for feedback on what more we can do to help this community deal with this issue at hand. So thank you, Emil. Thank you, Nico. Thank you to our maintainers who answer all the questions, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you all.
Have a great rest of
Thank
your
you.
week.